April continues to be a big month for video games, and today on Get Indie Gaming, we're taking you through the top 10 indie games coming out this week we think you might want to play. First up, and at number 10, coming out April 9th, we think Ancient Enemy is going to appeal to many folks out there who enjoy not only strategic RPGs, but also folks who dip in and out of games with card battling systems. This one comes from the creators of Shadowhand and Regency Solitaire, with it being inspired by certain aspects of British mythology. Coming with a turn-based combat system that feels pretty fast and fluid, the battle mechanics remind us of Darkest Dungeon, and most certainly within Slay the Spire. Here your enemies' moves are revealed with you having to respond in kind and accordingly. We think it's also pretty cool for Ancient Enemy to be looking around British folklore within something that's different to the more King Arthur type of thing. So here's hoping the background narrative makes for a nice change of pace. Ancient Enemy is coming to home PCs via Steam. Next up at number 9. While OctaFight might not be up there with the best lookers out this week, it is exceptionally fun and entertaining, and one we think fans of older couch co-op multiplayer games should really take a good look at. OctaFight is also coming from a trio of developers currently working on Beyond Good and Evil 2, with this one actually launching on Steam on April 7th. Sure, everything's so very overpixelated and deliciously minimalist, although with its 2 to 8 player couch co-op, it can create a superb competitive atmosphere, with you also able to shape the game's rules to adjust it to your own tastes. So yes, while this isn't going to win any awards for its visuals, its intense and chaotic gameplay can be really rather superb. While out already on iOS and Android devices since the summer of 2016, Grimvalor makes its way onto the Switch this coming Tuesday 7th of April. If you haven't seen it before, this award-winning single-player hack-and-slash action platformer, with it also having a brand new mode not previously seen on mobile. Coming out on iOS, Android and PC from Steam, this week's number 7, Heal, sees you help and guide an aging gent through an abstract-looking 2D side-scroller with distinctive-looking handmade graphics. Heal comes from the creator of the Distraint series and makes its way into this countdown for what we suspect will be an immersive offering that touches upon the experiences of old age, with it also delivering experimental-based puzzle play within a point-and-click overall mechanic. It certainly looks a genuine and fascinating game that's just that little bit different, and it's games like these we really enjoy showcasing here on the channel. If, like us, you're going to pick this one up when it comes out on April 10th, let us know what you think of it down in the comments. Moving on, and at number 6, something else that's just a little bit different is Wanderlust Transsiberian. It's a new standalone adventure that's coming to PC on April the 9th. This is the next installment of the Wanderlust franchise from the makers of The Witcher and Dying Light that allows you to travel from Moscow to Vladivostok, a journey of just over 9,200 kilometers or 5,700 miles. As you do, you'll experience the sights along the way, all within a narrative journey that lasts around an hour. Dreamscaper is the first game from San Francisco-based developers Afterburner Studios, a team with a huge amount of AAA experience, with folks there having previously worked at Epic Games and the likes of 2K. Dreamscaper is an ARPG roguelike with elements of brawlers, top-down shooters and dungeon crawlers. You'll be playing as Cassidy, a young woman who finds herself dealing with depression and horrifying nightmares. This release on Steam on April 8th is actually the prologue to the full game, with it offering a huge amount of playtime with between 6 to 8 hours worth of content. You'll take Cassidy through her waking days, where she's looking to build meaning relationships with those around her. These memories you form in the waking world can be harnessed within her dreams, with the two states of being awake and being asleep deeply connected. What you do in one will have an effect within the other. It's also completely free and will give you a fine taste, we think, of what to expect when the game comes out at some point later in the year. At this week's number 4, Radio General has possibly found us sleeping on the job, as it were, as we're fairly sure we haven't seen it before, which perhaps is a big shame. It's definitely unique in what it's looking to do. Here it sees you play this real-time World War II simulation game as a general, where you're not able to see the troops you command, but rather you have to communicate them by way of your radio. It promises to see you talking to your troops whilst receiving fully voice-acted reports from all of your units, which you must act upon and issue orders and commands accordingly, with in most cases incomplete information. Unlike most World War II games, you're playing from the perspective of the 1st Canadian Army, where you'll be tackling the beaches of Normandy, the disastrous raid on Dieppe, and plenty more. While the strategic nature of the game is really interesting, we're also looking forward to seeing the hundreds of historical documents and photos that are used to tell the overall tale. The online co-op option and map editor should also help add to the overall experience, with this one coming to PCs via Steam on April the 9th. Onwards and into the top 3, we begin this week's podium with Alder's Blood, and while it came out a few weeks ago on the Switch, PC players can pick this up on Steam this coming April 10th. So far, and quite unexpectedly, the launch on the Switch doesn't seem to have had too much in the way of traction, and while there are so many turn-based strategy games on the eShop and, to be honest, all the other platforms, Alder's Blood really should stand out in what we can feel at times to be a sea of sameness within the genre. Now, we've touched upon this a couple of times, although what Alder's Blood is really clever in doing, and what helps put it up there on a pedestal, is how it goes about successfully creating something so very oppressive and harrowing. Now, there are more than a few gestures towards such games as Bloodborne. I mean, even the characters are known as hunters. And if creating a similar all-round feeling as that AAA game was the aim, then the developers deserve a round of applause. The implementation of the permadeath is also very, very weighty. You really are forced to deeply consider each and every single move with the utmost care. Combat is another fabulous but draining affair. Each and every action within the system sees you in some way lowering your stamina, and if that gets depleted, well, it's usually game over. In some cases, it's also best to avoid combat altogether, which again is a great little touch and a point of difference, as is how the demons you face are able to react to the sound and to your scent, which travels on the wind, which means you're constantly in a state of alertness in judging how your actions might result in your discovery. All in, Alder's Blood really is an excellent little gem. At number 2, the Procession to Calvary is the successor to Joe Richardson's highly acclaimed Four Last Things, and it comes to PCs via Steam April the 9th. It's set in the same world as its predecessor, although the story can be picked up and played by anyone that's new to it, and you don't have to play the first game. It's a traditional point-and-click type of thing with verb-coin interaction menu, all the while using simple and easy-to-follow drag-and-drop mechanics. Now, it's stuffed full with what appears to be a great-looking old-fashioned British sense of humour, with more than a fair nod to Monty Python and a few others. Like the previous game in this series, its lofty subject matter is all treated with what seems a refreshing level of flippancy, without the usual reverence and deference. It looks also super great with you making your way through hundreds of different paintings from the Renaissance era, and while clearly highly silly, it feels care has been taken when needed. Now, we're really looking forward to getting up to all manner of mischief with this one. And as we've said once or twice before of late, the Procession to Calvary looks and feels an almost perfect dose of silliness that right now is very much in demand. At number 1 for this week, and yes, we're well aware Holedown is already available on the Switch and iOS and Android, it's out for the first time this week, April 9th, where it comes to PCs via Steam. As you can tell, it's a modern take and twist on a brick breaker, and while simple in what it does, it's really one of the most fun, pleasantly addicting games of the type we've played in years. Now, we enjoyed this one so much with its bouncing balls of goodness that we added it to our top 20 overlooked games from the last decade. If you haven't seen that, follow the link in the description or the card that's on the screen now. So if Holedown is new to you and you fancy a funny, challenging and wholesomely addictive game whilst we're all stuck indoors, Holedown is definitely worth a visit. That's all we've got for today. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. If you liked the video, please click the like, and if you've not subscribed, be sure to press on that subscribe button while enabling all the notifications. As always, many thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Get Indie Gaming.